Just my first day back in 15 years, yeah. Just amazing, just changes in the place, and I look around, but still huge amount of the old buildings are still here when I look around, but to see the difference of, it's basically a container compound now.
I worked down here at a very early age as a truck boy for Merchants Warehouse. The Merchant Warehouse mostly done all the imports of cocoa beans, a lot of foodstuffs, and they also done a lot of exports. The main export in the 1970s, 80s would be mainly milk powder for third world countries, all around Africa and them places. There'd be thousands and thousands of tons of milk powder being exported.
1,500 dockers, 115 checkers, and I'd say 30 foremen. The place would be teeming with workers. Teeming.
The silo which you see in the background here, that stored hundreds of thousands of tons of grain. Red Spring wheat would be from Canada and North America. Soybean meal from America as well also. Everything from all over the world. All kinds of fruit, apples, oranges, all these other countries, exotic fruit like bananas and pineapples and stuff. Where all the bananas came in hanging upside down. We couldn't understand the bunches the way they grew upside down. They were green. Yeah. So we got our hands on a few bananas, we had to leave them under the mattress for weeks, and they'd be rock solid and be biting into them every second day. When are they going to go ripe? Yeah. This is a great luxury in the 50s. Yeah. Now kids kick the bananas out of the way.
They were very fussy about hoops. Insofar as it would be an Edwards hoop, which came mostly from Liverpool.
Bales of pulp, bales of sisal, timber. There's a lot of different cargoes that the hoop was essential for it. You wouldn't be able to get a grip with your hands or your fingernails,
I noticed the hoops that we've been left with are not the kind of hoop that the docker would have used. Well, it would be the same shape. Right. But the docker would like an Edwards hoop. Okay. It wouldn't be the same quality. Okay. Be much better steel and a much better handle, for example. If you're working that all day, can you imagine the state of your hand? Yeah, it would be in terrible shape.
Most of the cocoa beans that come in went to Cadbury's and Orneys and Rowntree McIntosh. And they would actually make crumb out of that, send it to Kerry and bring it back again, make chocolate out of it, which would go to the shops and exports as well.
And there was no mechanisation in them days. There was the odd forklift here or there, but mostly the hard work was done by the dockers. Mostly.
Another guy.
Why did they work hard? They were Trojans. They really were.
You've number 8 down here done all Italian stuff. It would be all tin fruit and stuff like that, and raisins, all from Italy. So there's all different Asians work for different kind of companies and main shippers that brought the stuff in. What was your
My father's father and his father before him were dockers, and they worked here for many, many years like myself. And when I look back on them all now, to see how hard they worked, and then all of a sudden there's none of them. There's no dockers left now. None whatsoever. The original docker is extinct now.
My parents were country and my father was County Meath, and he used to bring produce here. With his father, that's going back to my grandfather. And in those days they brought eggs and poultry from County Meath. And they brought them by train to Amiens Street Station, and then was brought by horse and cart from Amiens Street Station to the market. That produce went to small shopkeepers, as the case was then, and private families. The wealthy ones came to the market to fill up their kitchens, and then the poor people of Dublin, there was always food on the ground or to be found lying around the market. So you never starved if you lived near the market, because you could pick up loose potatoes or loose onions, loose apples.
I've grown up around the markets. Oh my God, I have loads of memories. It was actually great. There was loads to do because with all the fruit markets and the fish markets, loads of people around. So it was always busy. And you were never lonely, never ever lonely. And there was always kids playing. There was always something to do. But yeah, it was very good. I loved it. Yeah.
My grandfather, Dowling on the Dowlings, he was from Duleek in Leith, and then they came to Dublin. And I know she sold in the market going back when it opened 130 years ago or so. And then my father and his brother came into the business in the wholesale throughout the country, shop to shop, village to village, town to town. The main foods was your potato, your cabbages, turnips, mainly all Irish grown at the time. Then you'd have a leniency during the year, maybe at the end of coming to the end of the seasons, waiting for new spring season stuff to come along. So there'd be a hungry time coming into January, February, March. They would be hungry times of year. So stuff would be very, very scarce at them times. And you'd be looking for importation at that time. And a boat would take maybe a month before it comes to the docks here in Dublin. There's food knocking around here, wouldn't have been here 40 years ago. Peppers, ginger, I can name a lot of foods that wouldn't have been here.
My father and my grandfather worked here, and I came down here with my father when I was supposed to be in school. I went in Lurries, and then officially when I turned 18, I started working. So the fish market was there, and my father worked there also, as well as here. And they'd trade fish for fruit with some of his friends, and he'd bring home the best of fish, like monkfish, which restaurants never used. Only the Chinese restaurants used it. But we used to eat at home, and it was very expensive. And cod's roe was another thing. It's like the poor man's caviar.
Every morning they went to the market bright and early, and at that time they used to have I remember my grandmother telling me they had a big block of ice, to keep the fish fresh, because there was no such thing as refrigerators then, and she used to have to sit on top of the ice, coming from the market, I remember they'd come in boxes on the big huge ray, and they'd cut it up and slices, and with the wings of the ray they'd cut it, and that's how you got the triangle, and then you got the long ray from the middle of the Italians just seemed to be doing it, and then of course there was the Burdock's, the Russian, but I think the Italians made the best fish and chips.
Every morning 8 o'clock, 7:15 bus, and bring you and walk down East Wall into Cadbury's, and you'd be there until 6 in the night. Sometimes you work late. 190, I think it was, a week the wages. We didn't know any better, and at least it was a job. So we stayed, we didn't move off.
Now, when I went to work there first, there was 37 products. We did 37 different, between bars and sweets, really. We did 37, but I think in the late 70s, they decided that instead of doing, we say 30 tonnes here in Dublin, really, and 30 tonnes of the same thing in Bourneville. We had 22 factories in England, and they would be going from one, and they 80 tonne there. So they decided to make all the flake in Coolock, in Dublin and Coolock.
My sister was the one that used to do feeding off the belt, because she was the older ones, and the juniors used to go, and they used to be packing them and putting them away. And then we have to go to every job in it. You weren't just put on one job when you were a junior. Of course, you could understand. You had to learn the business. It went from one thing to another now, you know.
He couldn't understand why the bar they produced up here in Coolock was far nicer than the bar they produced. The same bar, same ingredients over in Bourneville or over in Somerdale or elsewhere in the UK. They couldn't figure out what the difference was. But then they realised that it was in the dairy products, and like we get all our dairy products from the Golden Vale counties, you know, like Limerick and Cork and Kerry and around the Tipperary, around that area.
Oh, dancing, love jiving, rock and roll, Elvis. We used to go to the ballerina. That was where the gate theatre is now, beside the gate. And the gate has taken it over now. But that was the ball. We used to call it the ball. And we'd go in there and we'd leave at 12 in the night and we'd walk home to Whitehall. Barred if you hitched the lift, you know. There'd be always about 6 of us hitching. And then you'd walk home and you'd be up at 7 the next morning for work.
I spoke to a friend of mine, and when she realised I worked in Canterbury, she said my sister worked there, and she said that she always tells me it's a very happy place to work with, and it was definitely a very, very happy place.
We were all kind of a family in it now, you know. Everybody knew, and if you were short of anything, they'd give it to you, or they'd buy you a cup of tea or anything, you know. But we used to go on retreats and we used to go on outings. There was a good few things. We went on mystery tours and that with them, you know, Cadbury's. And they used to go with others now. We went, as I'm saying, we went with Caltex out to Skerries. What was it called, Joe, that place?
Red Island.
Red Island and Skerries. We went out there. But it was a grand job. I liked it.
Started off down the end of Smithfield. Predominantly it was the Italian community who supported us at the beginning, and then with Italia 90 it kicked off really from that, from Irish people going off to Italy to the football matches and coming back with a graph for Italian food. My mother's parents, after the war, they came and it was work and they worked for other people, and then they set up they had their own shop. Then they had a place in O'Connell Street, the Pillar Ice Cream Parlour, which was quite famous at the time for its Knickerbocker glories and that kind of thing. My parents, they started to bring a product in for themselves initially, and then for family and friends, and there was kind of a gap in the market, I suppose, back in the early 70s, whatever it was, and they started to import them themselves.
There was a shop called Harps. It was where the pound shop is in Worth Street, a butcher's. And we used to go in, it was a man and woman owned this, and there was a certain man in that, and not mention his name. And he used to, when we'd see him and the man and woman, we'd run into him and he'd give us a bargain, you know. And then Shields was at the other corner. That's, it's a computers or telephones or that, you know, now. And we used to have a fella in there called Christy. And when we see Christy would get, but you'd have to standing around looking, waiting, like, because you wouldn't have the money, you know. And Christmas Eve you'd go in and buy our turkey, because they'd be getting sold off cheaper Christmas Eve in Moore Street. You get your turkey and then home.
At one stage in Dublin City, there were 13 garden shops going back to the first half of the last century. Now we are the last surviving traditional garden shop in Ireland. When I was a kid, we grew organically, but we didn't think we were growing organically because we grew all our own fruit and veg, and we knew when the food we were producing we were going to eat. So we didn't use anything that was toxic. We didn't call it organic. In Ireland, we traditionally grow flowery potatoes. That's what we love. It's not the norm around the world. It's only in Ireland that flowery potatoes are the big thing. But what you see now is that people are growing some of the varieties that are good in France, things like salad potatoes, varieties like Charlotte, or even varieties like we sell a lovely variety called Pink Fear Apple. And it's a long, knobbly potato. And Decadence is just using one potato for a chip. Nowadays we're much more likely to experiment with plants. We're much more likely to grow something that is different. Superfoods are the buzzwords, and one of the things now that we sell blueberries. We sell lots of blueberries, whereas in the 70s you wouldn't have sold blueberries. A couple of years ago we introduced a red apple. Now everybody thinks an apple and says, "Oh, an apple is red," but our apple, the flesh of it was red all the way through, so it was quite unique. This year, for the first time in Ireland, we will introduce tea. Tea is Ireland's obsession. We all love our tea, but we do not grow tea in Ireland. But you can grow tea in Ireland, and this year we will, for the first time, introduce tea plants to Ireland. So from April onwards in Ireland this year, you will be able to grow your own tea, harvest your own tea, and to sit down to your own cup of tea. Mr. Barry, watch out.
So this is our Grow Lab here at Belvedere College, and this space here has been developed over the last 2 years as a sustainable urban farm. In the bottom tanks here we have tilapia, so we have a fish here in the bottom tanks, and what we do is we pump their effluent water onto this grow bed of gravel or clay. In that grow bed then, the bacteria breaks down the fish poo and pee into a usable fertilizer for the plants, and in turn the plants in essence filter the water for the fish. So we never need to change the water in the system, and it's very water efficient because the water is just circulating around and around and never needs to be taken out of the system. In terms of what we're going to do then when we grow all this lovely food, the students are kind of figuring that out at the moment, and one of the really interesting ideas they have is to give it away. So rather than trying to engage in a commercial venture, if we are producing 200, 300 heads of salad every week, to find an organisation or a charity that could really use that nutrition in terms of their clients' needs. So that's a very exciting development, and we hope over the next few months we might be able to put that in place.
There was a dinner house, there was a stew house they called it, underneath us, under the flats, and so we'd go there nearly every day and get some stew off them, My sister, she's a year older than me. She's dead now, Lord have mercy on her, but she would have went down, they loved her, and they always brought her in, so I'd follow then and knock at the door and say, "Is my sister there? Come on in, Lisa." And they'd have the best of corned beef there, the slices of corned beef and the bachelor beans and the mashed potatoes, and we'd roll up the potatoes and the beans in the corned beef, and we'd eat it like, and we'd also have dessert and stuff like that, So I used to love just going down and eating, and yeah, it was lovely. My granny Lindsay, she would have lived in the flats. So, she lived there, my granny Lindsay, my auntie Bernie, my auntie Lolo and my mother Annie. And my granny Lindsay would bring me down to Parnell Street, and there was a woman there, Esther was her name, and she had a big stall in Parnell Street and she got a load of fish. So every Friday my granny Lindsay would go down and get a big bag of fish, and all my aunties would come into the flat and all the grandkids, and she'd cook us all the best of fish and chips. And that would have been an ongoing thing every Friday, So it was good. It was all about food, and there was always plenty of food on the table and stuff. And then we had Top of the Pops, and it's still there near Parnell Street. And you couldn't go anywhere else for your eggs or your potatoes. And my mother would know if I went to a different shop, she'd know them eggs weren't there at Top of the Pops. So we always had to go to Top of the Pops for the fruit and the veg and the eggs and stuff. That's the way it was,
I was coming back from Cavan, got lost going through a town called Mulla, and then about a couple of miles out in another townland called Carbuggy, I stumbled across this tram in a field, and I was just mesmerised by it, It was built by a company called Brill in 1902. Started off as a horse-drawn tram, open-sided with benches going across, so you just jump on, jump off. And then it went to Lisbon from Philadelphia. Spent most of its working days in Lisbon. It was remodeled in the 30s. From there, it was retired in the late 70s. Our kitchens are up in Smithfield, so I have 3 chefs up there, so that all the food is prepared every day, fresh, and we just bring it down twice a day. We're so close to the markets that we get most of our fruit and veg from Donnelly's. They're basically a stone's throw away here in the markets. So they supply us with 90% of all our veg. And then we also get meat from a local supplier in Stoneybatter. You know, even people that aren't even customers are just passing by, and I just put a smile on their face saying, oh, well, that's new and it's different, it's quirky. And it's nostalgic. To me, I call it street theatre, so it brightens up this area.